All right, everybody, welcome to Virtual Bourbon. My name is Steve Akley. I own a company called the ABV Network, and we've got a fun one tonight. We are going to be trying Little Book Chapter 4. So this is going to be a great tasting. I am pretty pleased. It just worked out well this year. I can't say it's ever happened any other year, and for the most part, this actually never happens. But St. Louis was first market I saw get this product. Literally, I think I got it on August 1st or 2nd, and that's the release date was August 1st. And I mean, we were just first ones to get it. So literally hit the stores and I was able to get some. And for those of you, there's many that hasn't hit their market yet. But what I found is when it does, they send plenty of it, but though it does disappear. So and what I mean by they sending plenty, when something that disappears, you've got an opportunity to get to the store and get it. There's not this lines or rushing or anything like that. I was able to pick up a bottle and then another one, and then went back a couple days later and got some bottles, and went back a couple days after that. Then it was gone. So it doesn't last very long, but long enough, unlike many other releases. So they certainly are sending enough of it out there, as they've done in years past, if you've been a collector of this. And it is my favorite series of whiskey. So I don't really get into collecting any other, but I do have all four of these, and I've got four preserved. And I always say that I'm going to open these either when the series ends or when it hits 21 with Freddie himself. So I got to have him there when I crack those open. So I'm just collecting them right now, and that's the only thing I do like that. The rest, anything else I got, I like to pretty well open. But that I'm gonna save, and always want to get an extra one for that. So hopefully all of you have tried the other versions of this. There have been three prior to this. The started in 2017. The first one was called the Easy, and I'm going to run over the blends of each of these. This one had in 2017, the first one had a 4-year-old bourbon, a 13-year-old corn whiskey, a 6-year-old straight rye, and a 6-year-old straight malt whiskey. And I attended an event here in St. Louis where Freddie had all of the individual components, and they wouldn't share with you what percentages went into that, but you got to try them all separately. And he was saying that kind of, the idea was to take all those and put them together and kind of see, does it taste like, regular Jim Beam, or does it taste like something else? So that was his inspiration for starting that one. And I guess he did a lot of different recipes, but this is the lowest one out of any of them. Recipe 2 was the one that ended up doing it. So pretty early on, he got this one, but he continued to try to mess with it, and but ultimately went back, and the second one blend that he came up with is the one that he used. In 2018, he had one called No Simple Task. This one would be, I don't think there's any controversies here. And matter of fact, when the series was started, they were pretty open about anything in the Beam portfolio could potentially go into this product. So you're talking about, they have Japanese whiskey, they've got rum, literally anything could go in there. And this is the first time we see something so out of the ordinary go into one of these. And it was an 8-year-old Kentucky straight rye. That's pretty normal. But then there was a 40-year-old Canadian whiskey and a 13-year-old Canadian rye. And how that came about just got Freddie to thinking. He had gone up to Canada to visit the Beam Suntory distillery up there, and just was inspired by some of the stuff they had, was tasting a lot of different things, and let him try some of those crazy ones like that 40-year-old Canadian whiskey. And he was inspired to create something with that. So I'm a fan of that. We did a blind tasting at my bourbon group when 2 came out, because a lot of people were anti, it's got Canadian whiskey, it can't be any good and all that. We did a blind tasting, and 2 beat 1 in a blind tasting that night. Now, the people that were there, they deny that. They say that 1 won, but I was there, so I know what the fact is. 2 beat 1. But people like to go back and say 2 isn't as good as 1. But I'm of the belief that he bettered himself with number 2. Then number 3, he changed everything with number 3. Number 3 was just blew everyone away, I think. It's called the Road Home. And he utilized, products that we're familiar with. So he had a 9-year-old Basil Hayden's in there, 9-year-old Knob Creek, an 11-year-old Booker's, and a 12-year-old Baker's in there. So basically the small batch collection in different years than we typically see. I mean, I guess 9-year-old Knob Creek is pretty common to what we see. And matter of fact, we see many picks older than that, but the other years are very different than what we typically find on the shelf. And that made just a fantastic whiskey. I mean, it was a bourbon for the first time, so it was basically a blended bourbon. But man, it was some really really good stuff. And I think he set a really high standard after that. And then I always like to give him a hard time that with the series, you're always looking to top the previous year. I mean, that makes sense. And he set the bench so high with that. It was going to be darn near impossible. But I'll tell you what, whether or not you think he was successful, we'll find out in just a minute here. But I think he did a great service to all of us as fans by putting out something really fantastic. And I'm a big fan with what he's done. This year has a 4-year-old brown rice bourbon, and this one's called Lessons Honored, which is cool because obviously the whole series kind of honors his grandfather, Booker No. But I think this one also honors somebody else pretty important in Beam, and that is Jerry Dalton, who was the master distiller who took over after Booker and was the guy who kind of was a mentor to Fred No, so Freddie's father. And he was the one who experimented with all these different grains and things like that. So it's things that we see pretty commonplace today in craft distilleries. Nobody was doing it back then. When Jerry Dalton was doing that, he was that master distiller for 9 years following Booker until Fred No took over. And he was doing some things. Brown rice was one of the experiments that he worked with. So I think, and I haven't confirmed this, but I would assume that's in his Lessons Honored is a nod to Jerry Dalton, who is kind of a forgotten character in the history of Jim Beam, but he shouldn't be. I mean, he ran a company as big as Beam for 9 years as a master distiller. You deserve some recognition. I think he should be in the Kentucky Bourbon Hall of Fame myself, but I don't get a vote in that. But I think it's cool that he did something like that. And hopefully Jerry has seen that. He has notoriously not been involved in the bourbon industry since retiring. We did do a show with him, which is a weird thing because he's never done interviews or things like that since retiring. But we did a show one time talking about all the great things that he did, talking about those experiments and things like that, and how we're a fan and would love to talk to him at some time. For no other reason, just to do the show because we respect the man. And about 2 years later, I guess Jerry was on the internet, on Google, and searched his own name, and that show popped up, and he listened to it. And he called. He had his son track down me, and then his son said, "Could you call me?" And I did. And at first I thought it was a joke. He's like, "This is Jerry Dalton's son, and he'd like to come on your show." So we've got that. If you search on the ABV Network website, you can hear a Jerry Dalton interview, and he's a fascinating man. And I've got to meet him since then, and he's a great person and so knowledgeable, and one of the greatest living distillers right now. Him and Jimmy Russell, I think, are peerless, really. And Jimmy's in a category by himself because he's been doing this forever, 65 years, and still master distiller title. But Jerry's he's pretty close, especially with the passing of Dick Stoll, another legend that we lost just a little bit over a week ago now. So, but yes, the brown rice was definitely a tribute to him. Then there's a 7-year-old Kentucky straight bourbon, and then finally a 8-year-old Kentucky straight rye whiskey in there. So I don't know if you've seen these, and they come out with kind of the same look every year. They have the bottle that's the same as Booker's, so Little Book does the same kind of wine type of bottle. He was big into the idea of this tag, and he felt like that might be a collectible thing. I've heard him talk about that. On the back, there's some nosing and tasting notes. On the front, it has the finishing notes as well as what goes in there and the name and the year that it comes out. So that is what the tag looks like. I've got sorry, I grabbed the wrong one. Here's the correct one. So that's what this here looks like, the color of the tag. So why don't we go ahead and open it up, take a pour, and then we will do some nosing notes on there. I want to see a show of hands. How many people has Little Book Chapter 4 hit the city where they live in? So a couple here. So it's starting to get out there, but still less than half, I'd say, by this point, and especially when you throw out, we've got several from St. Louis here. So we know that. Want to do the usual thing. Kind of want to talk a little bit as we go here. I can pull this out and let's nose this and see what we get. What do you guys get on the nose here? I'll see if you get close to what Freddie says. You can do that either via take your mic off mute, which is fine, or you certainly can utilize the chat function as well. Smelling corn, brown sugar, and peanuts. Okay, that's good. I mean, to me, I get strong vanilla on there for sure. Malt. Let me read to you what Freddie says here. He says, sweet vanilla, toasted oak, and a touch of soft rose, like floral on the nose. So a rose-like floral. Does anybody get any of that? Freddie's better at me than this stuff, so he has a. I mean, I heard before I ever met him. I mean, I heard for a while about how great his palate is and all that, and he is an interesting guy for sure when it comes to that. He definitely can pick up notes that most can't. Those reminds me of Japanese whiskey. Jack is saying. His process for this is pretty interesting. I mean, and he does a little demonstration of that. You know, I've got a movie out called Blending is Trending, and really Freddie's the star of the movie. And but he takes us through. We got to go into the Beam lab where he shows us how he does this stuff. Now it's not exact because typically what he does is he tastes all of the components that he's looking at mixing together individually. That doesn't change. We got to see that, and then he will then kind of get a flavor profile in his mind, and then kind of build towards that. So he'll come up with, you know, percentages that he puts in, but then what he likes to do is leave that sit for 24 hours. Now we weren't a big budget film or anything like that. We're just filming live. So we didn't get to leave the time to meld, then come back the next day. We were just there for a set amount of time. So we filmed that. So then basically he tasted it again, refined it a little bit, and then came up with an end product that was just amazing. But again, just something that was created in the lab that day with some random ingredients that he chose literally while we were standing there. And it's cool. It's worth seeing. I will tell you, if you do watch the movie, that is all done in real time. So literally it was hit record, and we recorded Freddie live. There's no cuts in there at all. There's no tricks or anything like that. That is Freddie talking from the start of that thing till B, the end of it. And it's, I don't know, 5-7 minutes of that process. And I mean, the guy is good, and it's really a cool thing. And at the end, he says, "You want to try it?" And of course we say yes. But it was legit amazing stuff. So I wish you guys could taste that. I wish we had some of that, but we don't. All right, let's give this thing a taste and see what we think here on the taste. All right. Let's see here. Proof-wise, this comes in at 122.8. So it is a solid proof. All right. Had a little internet hiccup there, but I think I'm back. Am I okay there? You guys can hear me? So yeah, it's 122.8 proof. It definitely has a nice long finish for sure. To me, that 122.8 is definitely not overpowering. It's really perfect. And I'm kind of in that 115 range. I always say is the perfect proof. So this is kind of right there with that. Anybody get any tasting notes that they'd like to share? Candied peanuts, very good. I'd say that's in line with what Freddie said. No throat burn, yeah. Yeah, it warms up nicely and keeps going. Candy apple, very good. Dried cherries, which you're hitting on with what Freddie says exactly, actually. So Randy, that's not bad company to be with, saying what Freddie says. His other notes, see if you guys get this, as full-bodied brown sugar, rich charred wood, and dried cherries. That's the three things he lists in the tasting notes. All right. What do you guys think here of this one? What's in the finish? Okay, let's see here. His finishing notes are, you're saying a slight burnt taste. He does not say that. He says soft and decadent, warm caramel on the finish. So maybe a burnt caramel, huh? All right. What do you guys think? Who wants to open up here and give me their thoughts? Just, you don't have to share tasting notes. You just tell me what you think of this. We'll start with the legend. He's in the corner.
No, I like it.
Yeah. It's a very solid offering for sure. As soon as I tasted, I went up, and that's when I got another bottle right away. It's a refreshing Booker's. I kind of like that description. Yeah. It's Booker's, but refreshing. What else?
This one, the refreshing Booker note definitely is true, because you don't get that. I like to say most Bookers have that underlying peanut butter. I don't know if I'm the only one that can. Most Bookers have almost that nutty finish to all of them mostly, but you don't get a lot of that here, so it makes it quite interesting.
Yes, for sure.
Steve, I'm getting a lot of black licorice off of it.
Black licorice.
That's what it is. Licorice. The finish.
There you go. There you go. I can definitely see that. He nailed it.
Yeah, you can tell the rice whiskey gives it a little bit more, little extra to it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
A little more flavor.
Yeah.
Different.
More complex. That's what I'm trying to
It's
say.
definitely layered, complex. I agree. It, like I said, the warmth that you get as it heats up, and then it just kind of stays at a nice, even, warm feel too, which is different. It doesn't heat up and then fade away quick. It just kind of warms up, stays, and then eventually dissipates.
Best out of all of them, I think, so far.
I agree. That's tough to say, because I thought number 3 was fantastic, but so you rank them batch 2, 4, 3, and 1. Interesting. I like it. A 2 fan. So that's good. I liked 2. Like my buddy Jim at Total Wine, he says he doesn't like 2. He voted for it that day for 2 to beat 1. And if he tells anybody other than that, he's lying, because I watched when he put his hand up. So, but 2 is the favorite. 2 is definitely interesting. It's divisive though. There are people that just don't like that and say it's not good, and I think they're crazy. I think they've all been really good, and they're unique, and it fosters conversations like these. How great of a whiskey is that? Where, they're all, we can talk about which one's best and things like that. I think that just means that he's on to something here, and he's got a cool thing that he's doing. So my favorite, and I've got all 4 still. I'm getting low on this one here, on the 2018 one. But I've been doing all 4 of them side by side with some folks just to see. So, and yeah, most of them are along the lines with 1, 2, 3, 4. Like Justine May's like 2 better than, or 1 better than 2, but I don't know, kind of follow suit with that. I just didn't think he'd ever be able to beat what he did last year. And again, personal preference, I think that he did. So it's cool. What else you guys want to say about this? Yeah, it is smooth for sure, right?
123 proof, and the finish is great on it. I mean, it does last very long.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yes, I'd like to save this for some wintertime drinking. I'm just not sure it's going to make it. It's got a great proof for, cold night, wanting to warm up a little bit. But there you go. I agree. Number 2 is the Parker's Orange Curacao of the Little Book line. Embrace the creative and innovation. Yeah. Yeah. So Parker's Heritage, what was that, 2 years ago, had the Orange Curacao finish. The last one of Denny Potter's right in there. That was the last one he did. Then that came out and then he left. So, and I like the Orange Curacao, by the way. I think that one was fantastic. A lot of people, again, didn't like that one. Pairs very well with crab cakes. Yeah. Is that what Winston's eating right now? Crab cakes? What else do you guys want to think? All right. What are your favorites? That's a legit question. Rick Brenner, all-time favorite Little Book is you can hold up your finger if you want.
I think it's going to be this one.
Okay. All right. We're gonna do an official poll here. Okay. All right. Ruben, what's your all-time favorite, man?
Honestly, this is my first one, so
It's got to be this one then, by default. By default, unless you don't like it, then it's this one.
No, it's amazing. It's great.
Okay. All right. Randy, what do you think?
Yeah, this is the first Little Book that I've tried, so I like it.
He's getting default votes here. All right, Brian Murphy.
This one by default.
Come on now. Where's this come up with? What's going on here? All right, Mike, help me out here. You're like number 2, right? You already said that in the thing, so I don't need to ask. Jen, have you tried all these?
I have, but I don't remember the others, so
Okay.
it's been a while.
It's been a while.
So I'm going to say this one by default.
Okay. All right. Kathy, where do you fall on these?
Couldn't talk.
This is the only one I've tasted.
Okay, Scott, same thing for you?
No, I've had all 4. Number 3 is hands down my favorite still.
Okay, number 3. All right. From our knowledgeable ones, I'm only counting the knowledgeable ones now, or the ones that have tried all 4 and remember it. So I discontinued to. So right now we've got a 3-way tie here, 4, 2, and 3. Rob, did you say what your favorite was?
I did. I was the one that messaged number 2 for me. But
number 2. Oh, okay. I thought Mike said that. Sorry, Mike. We go back to you. Did you? I counted Rob's as yours.
Sorry. No, I honestly would have to say this one out of all the batches.
Okay.
There's a different uniqueness to it.
Okay, fair enough. Sorry for skipping you before. I got messed up there. Christy, you're next.
This is the first one I've tasted.
Okay, that's okay. The Robinsons, have you guys tried all these? And if so, do you remember them?
First one. It's our first one too.
Okay, all right. Ed, you didn't get to try this one yet because unfortunately your sample did not make it. So I know I have to skip you.
Well, I've had all the other ones. So I took this opportunity to do the Baker's single barrel because I've been meaning to try this one. I actually like it. But out of the other ones, so I'll have to wait till I get this one.
Yeah. What's your favorite going into this then, Ed?
Well, it's sort of what it shouldn't be. I mean, I should have liked the number 3 the best because it's a blend of all the things that I really like. But I recently did a tasting with 1, 2, and 3, and surprisingly, I liked the 1 a lot more than I did when I first tasted it and didn't buy a bottle of it. But when I tasted them all together, I actually liked it.
One best, yeah.
Which was bizarre.
Yeah, I saw on that. What's that new app that it's like Unicorn Auctions? Have you guys downloaded that yet?
Yes.
Most of the prices are crazy in that, but I did see they had Little Book Chapter 1 out there, and they're estimating it to go between $100 and $150.
Oh.
I mean, to me, it sounds like a deal. Everything else sounds crazy priced on there. To me, for Little Book Chapter 1, $100, please.
Yeah, I bet on it and I already lost. It's
Oh,
already,
did you?
yeah, it's already, I think
What?
175.
175. Okay.
Yeah, because I only had a sample 3 years ago of one,
Yeah.
and I have a bottle of 2 and 3 in this one. And for some reason, I went back when you sent me the sample. I already tasted the latest one this week, but I went back to 2 and 3, and 2 definitely still my favorite.
So Jack, your favorites too. Now, that's okay. But you don't have a bottle. You just had the sample. So
Yeah, just a sample of one. So I can't even remember one since it was like 2 years.
I got I have but I'm hanging on to it. It's cool. So everybody know, I don't know if you guys know Jeremy Schell or not. If you listen to the shows, he does some shows, and he asked me to find him a bottle. This is back in 2017, to get a bottle of Little Book for him, Chapter 1. And so I had this event where Freddie was at, and you could buy 2 bottles. So I bought 2 bottles, and I'd already had one that was going to be my drinker, and then I had the one I was going to keep then. And so I buy the 2 bottles, one for me, one for Jeremy. Got them signed by Freddie while I was there at this event. And afterwards, I leave the event, and I called Jeremy, and he's like, "Hey man, I just got myself a bottle of Little Book. You don't need to worry about getting me a bottle of that now." And I was like, "Oh, okay. Well, I just kept it. Now I'm glad I got it." So I got 2 signed by Freddie, which is cool. All right, Wild Bill, have you tried all these? And if so, no. Okay. Danny? Danny, you've tried all, and did you say? Did you?
No, I have not.
Okay.
I
We
do
can't
not
count
have
that.
one.
All right. We cannot. I'm sorry. We can't count that, Danny. Just for purposes, auditing purposes. Avery, have you tried all 4?
Yeah, and I even made sure I tried 3 tonight. I think this is my favorite so far.
Okay.
Of all of them.
Okay. All right. Patrick and Sarah, have you guys tried all 4? And if so, what is your favorite? They're on mute. I can try unmuting them, see what happens. Sorry. I think I messed them up there. Patrick and Sarah? Yes? Oof. My hearing is not that at age 52.
Look in the comments.
What's
Look in
that?
the comments.
Look in the
Look in the
comments.
comments.
Okay.
Here you go.
This is our first, but they love it. Okay. Winston.
So I've actually had all 4, and I think I like 3 a little bit better than this, although I want to do them side by side. Although, like you with 1, I got to do the breakdown experience, and that holds a special place in my heart.
Yeah. That's when I met Winston, was at that event, actually. So,
Yeah.
Yeah. So I've been buddies with Winston ever since then. So yeah, I was talking to Freddie about the podcast and all that, and then ran into Winston on the parking lot. I said, "Hey, you got a podcast? What's going on with that?" So yeah, that's when I met him. Yeah. David Pepper. Have you tried all these? He's on mute. And the last one, our Contre 26. Would you like to weigh in? Okay. This is a very unofficial poll then, the best we could do. I will say this, that with my vote included, number 4 is our winner as the best, followed by, with 4 votes of people that have tried all 4 and like to, so 4 votes. And then 2 got 2 votes. And then also 3 got 2 votes as well. So very unofficial, unscientific, but it shows you that there's some fun to this series and that it's mixed up. Nobody voted for 1 though. Nobody, but again, that's been a long time ago now too. So not that we can remember. All right. Well, any
Steve?
questions? Yes.
One other thing that didn't get mentioned is I heard they chose the blue color for the label tag to honor the Kentucky Wildcats.
Oh, really? I didn't hear that either, but I would say that's pretty spot on, right? Right, for Wildcats fans in the house. Ed, what do you think?
That's Kentucky Blue.
Yeah, there you go.
Right.
So I'd say that makes some sense. So yeah, no, I hadn't heard that though, Randy. So I did. That's a first to me. Did not hear that. What else? Any other questions about anything? Final thoughts on Little Book?
What other bourbons utilize the brown rice bourbon?
I don't know of anything that blends it in there. I mean, Jim Beam has released a brown rice whiskey. So part of that series that they did a couple years ago, which you still see that every once in a while out on the shelves, even though it's not been re-upped. But I don't know, is there anybody else knows any other brown rice? I mean, I can't think of any else that use it.
I think I have a bottle of brown rice at home.
Yeah, and that was literally distilled by Jerry Dalton. So he didn't even know that they had released that stuff. That's how much he got out of the whiskey business. So he was playing around with all those. I forget. There's Trichticale, there's brown rice, and there's at least 2 other ones.
Rolled oat.
Rolled
I know.
oats, yes.
So Rocktown down in Arkansas is working on developing Arkansas rice bourbon, but they haven't released it yet.
Okay. Yeah. But Jerry had left the industry and didn't even know that Beam put those out as a product. They never told him, and he didn't follow bourbon quick. We told him that when we did the interview, which is weird. But yeah, he did not keep track of the industry at all after he got out. So that's definitely an interesting part of it. Anything else you guys want to know?
So are you going to report the results of the impromptu survey tonight, Freddie, tomorrow?
Yes, yeah, we are going to tell them that, of course. Who is on the thing tomorrow night? So it is a smaller group. We've only got hands up. Yeah, it's going to be cool. We're drinking Dusties, so stuff from the 60s, stuff that was distilled in the 50s, 60s, 70s, and then a current Beam to compare them all side by side. Freddie's going to be there. He loves that kind of stuff. He's got some ideas as to why it tastes different. But yeah, we're going to talk about all that stuff. So should be fun. We'll tell him number 4 won. I think he'll be excited about that. So, all right. Anything else? Well, great. I thank you guys for being part of this. Hopefully I was able to, get you a sample here pretty early on in the release of this one. And hopefully it was fun to be able to talk with some fellow bourbon fans about what they thought about Little Book Chapter 4 as well. So I appreciate you guys coming on tonight.
All right. Thank you, Steve.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you. Thank you very much, guys, and good night.